Hello everyone, my name is Rali, and today I'm going to talk about limits of law and authority figures in Romeo and Juliet. Born in Stratford-upon-Avon and baptized on April 26, 1564, William Shakespeare is often regarded as one of the greatest writers of all time. He was a poet, a playwright, and even an actor. Shakespeare was widely engaged in the theater business. He was a shareholder of a playing company called the Lord Chamberlain's Men, and the company built the Globe Theatre in 1599. The brilliant writer is also known for inventing many new words such as addiction, dwindle, and majestic. Among many of his plays, Romeo and Juliet is one of the most famous works that has been widely read across the world. The plot is about star-crossed lovers, Romeo and Juliet's tragic love story. Their love ended in death because of the ancient grudge between the Capulets and the Montagues. However, though many people believe that the play is a tragedy, Romeo and Juliet is somewhat different from other traditional tragedies and shows many features that can be found in a comedy. Before Romeo kills Tybalt in Act 3, Scene 1, the play's mood is comical. In this sense, pharmacos can be interpreted in two ways. First of all, it is a poison that kills Juliet and ultimately Romeo too for his misunderstanding upon Juliet's death. On the other hand, it can be regarded as a cordial that brings reconciliation between the two families from their beloved children's sacrifices. Of many different themes of the play, today's video will focus on the limits of law and authority figures' power over different characters. In Romeo and Juliet, authority figures' order and law do not function properly but have been challenged by most of the characters throughout the whole play, and they rather ironically function as sources that bring forth disobedience and crimes. Prince Aeschylus, the Prince of Verona, is the ultimate ruler who represents the law itself. In Act 1, Scene 1, he proclaims a new law that is expected to be followed by the Capulets and the Montagues. However, although the prince's main role is to establish civil peace, he lacks the power to execute the law. Throughout the story, readers can notice the sense of irony as the prince contributes to more confusions and tragedies in Verona, which is in sharp contrast to his given role. Prince Aeschylus again shows limit as a law enforcement agent in Act 3, Scene 1, when Romeo kills Tybalt. Even though he has a solemn responsibility of giving fair judgments, being on Romeo's side, the prince gives a partial verdict upon Romeo's murder of Tybalt, banishment instead of the formally announced death penalty. This not only undermines the authority of the law which the prince himself had declared, but also aggravates the enmity between the two households. Especially for the Capulets, this unfair judgment leads them to rely on personal revenge since the fairness of law couldn't be trusted anymore. Capulet is another authority figure whose actions ironically lead to the tragic deaths of his daughter Juliet and his kinsman Tybalt. After finding out the presence of the enemy Romeo, Tybalt claims that he wants to kill Romeo as his presence can subvert the solemnity of the feast. However, Capulet severely chides him and forces him to abandon his idea to fight with Romeo. Am I the master here or you? For shame, I'll make you quiet, directly show the ultimate control of Capulet that must be respected. Yet, after getting severely reprimanded, with humiliation and resentment from the submission to Capulet's authority, Tybalt swears revenge on Romeo. The authority of Capulet never solves the conflict between the two families. It only temporarily postpones the clash between Tybalt and Romeo. In Renaissance's patriarchal society, where women's submission to men was mandatory, Capulet fits into a typical father figure who demands absolute obedience from Juliet. At first, when Paris comes to Capulet's house, he tells Paris that he will choose a future son-in-law according to Juliet's choice. However, without knowing a subversion, Juliet's marriage to Romeo has already taken place. Later, he overturns his decision and simply claims that Juliet will follow his words. When Juliet challenges his authority, Capulet loses his mind and shows a pathological obsession with her. Nonetheless, his suppressive authority never dissuades Juliet from marrying Romeo and running away with him. Rather, because he forces her to get married to Paris as an independent woman figure, Juliet seeks a risky way to free herself from capitalist dominance. Towards the end of the play, again, a law that is to be respected is broken. Selling poison is present death in Mantua. Still, Romeo persuades the apothecary to sell the poison by asserting the uselessness of the law. He strongly argues that the apothecary does not have to follow the law since it will never make him rich. However, even though unnoticed by other people, breaking the law always brings serious consequences. Romeo, who intentionally violates it, gets his own punishment by drinking the poison. The apothecary also accepts his proposal as keeping the law will not make his life better. Like this, the law is very much nominal and does not have much power upon people both in Verona and Mantua. Unlike other characters who disobey the commands of authority figures and law, Paris is the only one who was faithful to law and committed the crime on no account until his death. In contrast to Tybalt, who said he would strike Romeo dead, Paris repeatedly uses the word apprehend instead. Paris believes in the legitimacy of law by the prince, while every other character knows that the prince has no power to carry out the administration of justice. Being sacrificed by Romeo, who even does not try to confirm the identity of a target of the attack, the death of Paris resembles a martyr. While explanations can vary for the death of Paris, one possible explanation could be found at the status of Paris. As a kinsman of the prince, his death serves the role of a punishment for the prince who causes so many deaths and social turmoil for not appropriately enforcing the law.